What are the best spell hearts in Pathfinder 2nd edition? Which ones are they? And if these spell hearts are so powerful, can they fix a broken one? Wow, that was a depressing way to start a video. This is the Dominomicon, authored and hosted by me, Dominic. The Dominomicon is dedicated to all nerdy things, with my current obsession being the TTRPG Pathfinder 2nd edition. In this video chapter, I'm going to go over what I believe are the top 10 spell hearts for Pathfinder 2e. I already went over the top 20 low-level magic items in PF2e, and some of my commenters mentioned going over spell hearts, which is exactly what this video chapter is all about. The spell hearts are pretty cool reusable talismans that give you a cantrip and give you some extra abilities on top of that. I want to talk about them because they're just so awesome. So if you find this video chapter helpful and or enjoyable, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, etc., or consider joining as a member and taking a look at my Patreon. If you want to see more content like this, that's how you do it. But let's activate our spell heart by starting the music. Right, so first of all, allow me to explain what a spell heart is and how it works. As described in Secrets of Magic, and yes, this is a free remastered book, it's perfectly fine to still use it though. Spell hearts are like talismans, except you can reuse them over and over, which is what makes them so cool. You affix them to an item such as your weapon or armor, and they immediately come with a sort of passive benefit for doing so, as well as giving you a cantrip to be able to cast, which tends to power up some of these passive benefits.
But that begs the question, don't you need to be able to cast spells to cast the cantrips and spells that come with a spell heart?
Annoyingly, we need to dive into the rules a little bit here to explain this better, and this is actually something that was rather confusing and was somewhat recently corrected via an errata to actually explain what the situation is. To be able to activate a magic item that specifically says activate cast a spell, such as spell hearts, you need to be able to cast spells, unsurprisingly. Now, before the remaster, it wasn't very clear whether or not you could take a dedication, and that would be enough to be able to cast a spell, like a wizard dedication, for example, or whether or not you'd have to take the basic spellcaster benefits on top of that initial dedication. However, it has now been clarified via errata that if you nab a spellcasting archetype, you can also activate items such as scrolls, wands, and staffs, which would also include spell hearts, I imagine. And honestly, as a GM, I'd happily allow my non-caster characters to be able to cast spells from spell hearts, even without taking a spellcast dedication. And that's because I'm a generous GM, of course, but just being able to cast a single cantrip is not really going to make a character all that super duper overpowered or whatever anyway. That's just a personal preference thing, though. Suffice to say, as long as you can cast spells, and that means actual spells such as cantrips, not just focus or innate spells, you need more than that usually, then you should be able to activate spell hearts, rules as written. Oh, and the skill feat trick magic item allows you to bypass the whole need to be a caster thing entirely if you don't want to use class feat, so get locked into a spellcaster dedication. Right, nerdy rules stuff aside, spell hearts come with their own DCs for spells and spell attack rolls, and the high-leveled version of these spell hearts come with better passives than actual proper spells. The sad thing is that the spells from the spell hearts use the static item DC of that particular spell heart that never changes unless you're casting a cantrip, which will actually use your spell DCs, etc., so long as they are higher. And remember, the cantrips scale with your level, and these spell hearts may give you access to cantrips that aren't normally on your spell list / tradition, which makes them pretty unique indeed. As for the passive abilities, usually armor ones are perma-passives with no extra steps needed, but if affixed to a weapon, there's usually a requirement to actually activate them, which is sometimes just like you hit an enemy. It's more commonly after you activate a spell from the spell heart itself, though. The weapon versions tend to last more than a turn. They can be very powerful indeed, honestly. It also just depends on the spell heart itself. They're all kind of different. Right, I think I've spoken enough about what makes spell hearts pretty cool. As for this particular list, I'm going to pick a spell heart and show you all versions of said spell heart, though I'll be starting with the lower level versions and making my way upwards, ignoring rarity, etc., just picking the ones that I think sound the coolest. And yes, a lot of these spell hearts are pre-remaster stuff. Some of the terms are out of date, whatever. If they still work, though, in terms of modern PF2e, should be fine. So let's get started. The Clay Sphere is an uncommon spell heart. When affixed to armor, you gain resistance 2 to precision damage and a +1 item bonus to saving throws against effects with the morph or polymorph traits. When affixed to a weapon, after you cast a morph or polymorph spell, your strikes with the affixed weapon have the versatile bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing traits for 1 minute, and your strikes with the affixed weapon have the damage dice increased by 1 step until the end of your next turn as well. The cantrip granted is Gouging Claw. While the extra bit of damage is nice, being able to change to versatile bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing for a whole minute is honestly incredibly good, especially if you put it on some sort of advanced weapon with maybe not that many traits, but does a decent chunk of damage or has some other cool traits or whatever. Just being able to swap the damage type is very valuable in this system. It's not all that expensive either. It's only 55 gold for the initial one at level 3. The greater version at 6 is 225 gold, and it increases your bonuses when affixed to armor and also gives you enlarge. The major version at 14 for 4,200 gold increases your resistances even further and allows you to cast Curse cast Metamorphosis or Plant Form. Genuinely a really useful spell heart. I'd probably say it more so on the weapon than anything else. Next spell heart, please.
The Jolt Coil is a common spell heart.
When affixed to your armor, you gain resistance 2 to electricity, and when it's on your weapon, after you cast an electricity spell, your strikes deal an additional 1d4 electricity damage until the end of your next turn, and this comes with the Electric Arc cantrip. That latter part is probably the reason I chose it, because Electric Arc is very strong as a damaging cantrip. So you just cast that, whack a couple of enemies with it, and then boom, your weapon has an extra bit of electricity damage on it until the end of your next turn. It's really good. That could be quite a few hits, and as this only costs 60 gold, with it being a level 3 item, it's really worth it, honestly. It's only 1d4, but hey, that adds up. When you get the greater one at level 8, it costs 475 gold. The resistance to your armor goes up a little bit, and the extra damage is now 1d6 instead of 1d4, and you get the lightning bolt spell. The level 12 version at 1750 gold increases the electricity resistance up to 5, and the extra damage is a d8 instead. You also get a higher ranked lightning bolt. It bumps it up by 1 rank, and you get draw the lightning spell, which is actually a really good spell as well to affix to your weapon. It's really cool, interesting spell heart that's great for doing area of effect damage. I like it. Let's move on. The Warding Statuette is common, and when attached to armor, gives you resistance 1 against ranged weapon attacks. When it's affixed to a weapon, you simply just need to strike, and then you get to choose a creature adjacent to the creature that was hit, and they gain a +1 status bonus to AC until the start of your next turn, and it gives you the Shield cantrip. That +1 status bonus to AC is nothing to laugh at, because that is effectively a passive effect that's just always going to happen so long as you hit something. And it doesn't say that you cannot pick yourself, so if you're a martial, there's no real reason not to have this, just so you can get a +1 to your AC as long as you hit. It's at the start of your next turn as well. It lasts that long. It's pretty good. Plus being able to cast shield while wearing a two-handed weapon is pretty awesome as well. This one comes at level 7 for 325 gold, but you can get a level 13 one for 2,600 gold, which increases your resistance to range attacks further, and you also get Spiritual Armament and Spiritual Guardian. Probably one of my favorite spell hearts ever. I do like support stuff generally, so I love being able to cast shield on myself as well if I'm using a two-handed weapon. Really cool. Next up, the Phantasmal Doorknob, a strange name, is a common spell heart, and when attached to armor, you get a +1 item bonus to thievery checks to pick a lock. On your weapon, when you critically succeed with a strike, the target is dazzled until the end of its next turn, and it comes with the Figment cantrip. The reason that this is so good is because of that weapon passive. When you crit, the target is dazzled. No saving throw, all you need to do is critically strike, and that is it, they are dazzled. That's just honestly amazing, and one of the best things you could possibly have. Yeah, the DC 5 flat check is only a small percentage chance of them actually failing to hit or cast a spell or whatever. But trust me, as I've said before, it really does add up and can be really, really good. You can get this one at level 6 for 250 gold. It also comes with Phantasmal Treasure. The greater version at level 10 for 900 gold increases the item bonus of thievery checks to +2 instead of +1 and makes that dazzled blinded instead until the end of its next turn. However, once they're blinded with it, they're then immune to it, I imagine. Then it goes back to dazzled after that. You also get Vision of Death, which is a pretty strong spell. The major version at level 15 for 6,000 gold is basically the same, but comes with a 6th rank Vision of Death and Phantasmal Calamity. Genuinely really fantastic if you put this on your weapon. In fact, I'm slightly worried about mentioning this particular spell heart because I reckon a lot of my players are going to want to pick it immediately. Maybe I should make it uncommon just for my games because I'm that lovely, amazing, handsome sort of GM. Next up, the Enigma Mirror reminds me of myself because I'm kind of like an enigma, aren't I? Yeah? No? No. No. This spell heart is common, and when attached to your armor, after you cast an illusion spell, you choose an ally within 30 feet, and they are concealed, which lasts until the end of your next turn, which is lovely. For the weapon version, after you cast an illusion spell, you gain the Thicket of Knives spell until the end of your next turn. Cantrip granted is Forbidding Ward. Thicket of Knives is pretty cool if you want to feint against enemies. Honestly, I always say that getting free spells that are repeatable like this is just amazing. It's just a free spell slot, and if you're a type of character like a swashbuckler that has the subclass that does a lot of feinting, etc., and you happen to be able to cast spells, this is just a no-brainer for you to have. Plus, the armor version is pretty good as well. Being able to just pick an ally to be concealed until the end of your next turn is very powerful indeed. You can get this at level 7 for 325 gold. It also comes with the Blur spell. The greater version at 10 is 950 gold and gives you a Mirror's Misfortune, and at 13 you get Mirror Malefactors for 2,750 gold. Definitely a great spell heart to have for certain builds. More hearty hearts, please. Okay, now the Desolation Locket reminds me more of myself because of the whole desolation thing and how I view my entire existence. Yes, that was sarcasm. This spell heart is another common one. When attached to your armor, it gives you a +2 item bonus to saving throws against emotion effects. When attached to a weapon, after you cast a non-cantrip by activating the locket, you emanate an aura of hopelessness in a 5-foot emanation to the start of your next turn. Any creature that ends its turn in the aura must succeed a will saving throw against the locket DC, which is 24, or becomes slowed 1 or slowed 2 on a crit fail until the end of its next turn. It also comes with Haunting Hymn. The downside to this is that the 5-foot emanation does indeed affect your allies as well, but still, becoming slowed 1 with a will save is pretty strong, and as this is a level 8 item for 470 gold, it does come with the Fear spell straight away, which is one of the best spells in the whole system. And the armor version is pretty good as well. A +2 item bonus to saving throws against emotion effects as a passive is very strong indeed, especially if you pick one of those classes or ancestries that gets the feats that turn successes on emotion effects to critical successes. This kind of just bumps that up even further. The greater version at level 13 is 2,800 gold and increases that saving throw to +3 and upgrades your Fear spell and gives you Wave of Despair. And at level 19, the major version for 34,000 gold increases the saving throw to +4. And when you critically fail against these effects, you get a fail instead. And upgrades your Wave of Despair to 7th rank and you get Canticle of Everlasting Grief. What an amazing, amazing spell heart. Canticle's a funny word. Canticle. Next on my list. The Lightweave Scarf sounds cool. It's another common spell heart. When attached to armor, it gives you a +2 item bonus to saving throws against illusions and deception checks to create a diversion. When applied to your weapon, after you cast an illusion spell, your next strike causes the target to be confused for 1 round if it hits, and you get the light cantrip. Even though the armor version of this is pretty good, being able to make an enemy confused just because you cast a spell and then hit them is kind of busted. It's for a whole round as well, so they may effectively lose their entire turn to hitting their allies. And no save. Absolutely incredible. As this is a level 8 item, it comes with Hypnotize and costs 500 gold. The level 15 version also upgrades your Hypnotize to 6th rank and gives you a Vibrant Pattern as well. And at level 18, the 22,000 gold major version makes creatures confused for a minute, and the item bonus to saving throws goes to +3 on your armor. It also upgrades your Vibrant Pattern to 8th rank and gives you Confusing Colors. Absolutely fantastic spell art. 3 to go. The Saurian Spike is another common spell heart. When attached to your armor, it gives you an imprecise sense with a range of 30 feet. When it's on your weapon, when you cast a polymorph spell, your battle form is exceptionally fearsome. Each enemy in a 30-foot emanation must succeed a DC 27 will saving throw or become frightened 1 or frightened 2 on a crit, and it comes with Gouging Claw. So the cantrip unfortunately does not count as the polymorph spell, as it's a morph spell, not a polymorph spell. But when you pick this up, as it is a level 9 item for 700 gold, it immediately comes with dinosaur form. So when you cast that, you are straight away activating the effect and potentially making all enemies in a 30-foot emanation, which is pretty big, it's massive honestly, frightened 1, and it's specifically enemies. Really cool spell heart, very impressive indeed, probably a lot better attached to weapon than armor. The upgraded level 11 greater version costs 1,400 gold and increases the Sense and Fear emanation to 60 feet, which is crazy high, and upgrades your dinosaur form to rank 5 instead. And the level 15 version for 6,500 gold makes creatures frightened 2 on that fail instead of frightened 1, and then it's frightened 3 on a crit fail. And it upgrades your dinosaur form to 7th rank. Lovely stuff, or terrifying stuff, I guess. Penultimate spell heart, please. The Wyrm Spindle, yet another common spell heart. When attached to your armor, after you cast a non-cantrip spell, you gain resistance 5 to fire, force, mental, and spirit damage for a whole minute, which is pretty cool. When attached to your weapon, after you activate a proper spell, you gain the Dragon Breath activity, which takes 2 actions and it deals 66 damage to all creatures in a 30-foot cone with a DC 28 basic reflex save. And you get to pick between fire, force, mental, or spirit. You can only do it once before the end of your next turn, and you gain Gouging Claw as the cantrip. Honestly, that Dragon Breath is pretty strong, as is the resistance to fire, force, mental, and spirit damage for a whole minute. It's a really interesting spell heart, and this comes at level 12 for 1,000 gold, and you're immediately getting the Summon Dragon spell with it, which is always nice. The upgraded version at level 15 for 6,500 gold increases the resistance to 10, and the damage from Dragon Breath is now 9d6, and it upgrades your Summon Dragon to 7th rank. The 19th level major version for 40,000 gold increases the resistance to 15, and the Dragon Breath is 12d6 instead, and allows you to summon a Draconic Legion. This is such an awesome spell heart. It's very cool and very powerful indeed. Last but not least, The Radiant Prism as the final common spell heart. When attached to your armor and after you cast a non-cantrip spell, you glow with a dim light, which makes you concealed until the end of your next turn. When attached to a weapon and you cast a similar spell from the spell heart itself, your strikes gain the Brilliant property rune to the end of your next turn. This does fire damage as well as spirit damage to fiends and vitality damage to undead. On crits, the target must succeed at a DC 29 Fortitude save or be blinded for 1 round as well, which is pretty cool. The cantrip that comes with this one is, of course, Light. As this is a level 16 item, costs 8,600 gold, it immediately comes with the Fiery Body spell, which is what will activate your armor and weapon versions. I'd probably say they're both as useful as each other. I actually think Concealed is better than most people think, which can be pretty strong indeed, but the Brilliant rune can be pretty strong against certain enemy types as well, especially if you're critting against them and making them blind if they fail that save. The DC 29 is not all that high, but it's still possible for them to fail it. When you get the greater version at level 18 for 20,500 gold, that concealment lasts for 2 rounds instead, and the damage for the Brilliant rune is increased to 2d4 of each type as well. Also comes with confusing colors. And the level 20 is 64,000 gold major version now has a greater Brilliant rune with the damage being 3d4 of each type and comes with Falling Stars. Really cool. And that is the end of my top 10 spell hearts for Pathfinder 2e. Hopefully you've seen a couple in there that are going to upset your GM greatly when you tell them what you've chosen. Seriously, I think some of these spell hearts are incredibly strong. They're kind of like having a property rune without needing to count towards the limit of having a property rune. Genuinely really cool that Pathfinder has these sorts of items. Like I said at the start, I couldn't include this in my top magic items video because basically these spell hearts would have taken up the majority of it. They can be incredibly strong. Thanks very much for watching this video chapter. If you have any other spell hearts that you like, please let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video chapter helpful and or enjoyable, please give it a like and consider subscribing, joining as a member, and taking a look at my Patreon. That sort of stuff keeps me going, and I'd like to take a moment to thank my sponsors: Max Magnus 20019, Ozzy Smith, Nikola Milenkovic, Cal Travis, and patrons and archivists Clash, Q, and Patrick O'Donoghue. Thanks again, everyone. But for now, this is Dominic of the Nomicon, wishing you a fond farewell, and until next time, goodbye.